Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and in this video, we're back with another better investment. Who offers better investment value? Is it Huohuo, the new character in 1.5 first half, or is it the current girl that we all already know and love, Topaz and Numby as well? Very strong characters, both of them, but let's put them head to head. And in this video, as we all do in all our videos, we're going to make it super unbiased. I'm not going to favor one character over the other, even though there is a preference for me. I'll talk about my personal bias all the way to the end, but that's my promise to you. I'll keep it as clean, simple, and you guys can make your decisions too based on what the facts I'm saying. So current value, why I always like to talk about this first is when you buy something, you always want to know what exactly you get for every dollar, or in this case, stellar jades that you spend. For Huohuo, it's very clear. She's a very strong healer, and for those of you who didn't watch the live stream in that, I'll just summarize what she does. Her ult doesn't heal, but you give a lot of energy to your team, as well as attack percentage buffing throughout the other three members of the team, much like Huynh, and she combines with Natasha to some extent because she does a lot of healing, a lot of cleansing in her skill ability as well. Of course, if you want more information, wait for the official information to be out, or you can check out the live stream video where Albert, the owl, talks more in depth as well currently. So that is basically all you need to know to get on with this video, but very strong healer. She's basically a combination of Natasha and Huynh. That is insanely strong. Super good in my opinion, especially if you think about you're a new player and you think about the other rosters in the game. You don't have maybe LyouRika, you don't have Fucc, you joined a little bit late, lost a 50-50 or so in there. If you're looking for a second sustain for your team, I think she fits in very nicely as well. Probably if you're looking for someone to help support a character like Blade, Jingliu, who generally are the reasons why we will want to turn more to sustain rather than a preservation unit, I think she works fine with them as well. But of course, we'll talk about alternatives later on in this section. So current value, definitely strong healers, very important early on. Defensive units, very important early on. Why are defensive units important early on is because it allows you to build more flexible teams. You don't have to have a double sustain. You can build brings harmony, and you can combine together nihility as long as your one defensive unit can solo sustain. That is the real big importance, having a very good sustain unit. For Topaz and Numby, on the other hand, I think she falls quite short in the current value category. Why do I say that? If you are a follow-up attack lover, they're not really in the meta right now. Currently, I think out of all of the styles in the game, like DOT, Hyper Carry, follow-up, in my opinion, probably ranks one of the lowest. Even you can see that in the Elation, unless it's specific buffs and stuff like that. Topaz and Numby is a follow-up attack buffer and follow-up attack style player in general. And the only characters that is close to meta right now probably is Clara. Jingyuan, Himiko, Herta, not as favored to some extent, March 7, some extent Kafka, Blade, but they don't have, these two characters don't have their main style is not follow up. March 7, yes, but the one that is only really close to meta is probably Clara, and that would be very difficult to justify pulling a character that you probably don't care too much about follow-up attacks in terms of investment value currently. So that is the current state of what I think about both characters. We'll talk about what can improve them in future, of course, but I think right now what I want to talk about is alternatives, because current game state is quite different, especially if you think about what are the alternatives that you have. It changes very significantly in this category, and I think this is where Huohuo falls short quite significantly. Why do I say that? If you think about the alternatives to Huohuo, if you have a character like LyouRika, a character like Fucc, you would probably not feel a need to get another sustain unit. You might be looking to save up your pools, you want a better DPS, which is much more flashy, much more attractive to maybe sort out another element or a completely different style of play. You can probably make do with characters like these if you have them. Of course, I know not everyone has them, so that's why I'm just talking about this in this alternatives category. I'll be doing another video talking about which of these sustain characters are best for what niche, and Huohuo definitely has a niche that she outperforms in, and each of them of course have, but I'll talk about the others in another video. For Huohuo, her niche and what I think she performs best in is in a DOT team, with for example Kafka, Sampo. Why do I say that? She gives energy restoration throughout the entire team, the other three characters all get it, and she gives attack percentage. Attack percentage, we know that DOT characters love because they can't crit, so having that huge amount of attack skills into their DOT pops when it happens, which means these characters love it. Energy restoration, also throughout the team, they all like to use their burst to do a lot of damage, to pop it even quicker, to get all of them basically doing more DPS as well. So she's like a harmony character in that sense because she buffs attack, it helps the whole DOT team do more damage. At the same time, If you think about the stylistic presence of DOT teams, you generally have characters like this that likes to take damage across the board. Not one single person like Sampo taking all the damage, which means you don't really need like single target healing kind of elements like Luota, who has like a single target heal. If you're taking damage spread out because the aggro is drawn between all 4 of them, her style of healing, where you heal one primary character and the others also get some sort of healing, works very, very nicely because you split the damage, you heal, you share the heals across the board. She's more of like a team player, everyone gets together, whereas Luota has like one heal for one specific target that gets hit or loses a lot of life, generally like a character like Blade to some extent. So I think that is my comparison of both of them, and Alternatives I think is very strong, but she still does have a specific place in the current meta, and I think she outperforms in the DOT elements, especially when you consider across the board. Probably will work quite well with destruction characters like Jingliu, Blade still, but there might be better alternatives. For Topaz and Numby on the other hand, this is where she trumps Huohuo. She doesn't have a true alternative for a follow-up buffing character. If you think about the other characters in the game, the follow-up attackers, they're all DPSs like Clara, Jingyuan, Himiko, or these 3 are probably comparisons for follow-up attackers like her. All of them are DPSs. Clara to some extent sustain and more defensive also. But she, follow-up attack buffing, can play as a support, or sub DPS, can play as a main DPS, flexible in that sense. If you're talking about like fire break characters, then she has a lot more competition. She has like Himiko, you have Fire MC, you have Esther. If you're talking about Huynh, she also has tons of competition, but a true follow-up attacker all in one, together with a bit of sub DPS, single target attacking, I think she has few alternatives, and I'll give this category ahead to alternatives. But overall, I think if you don't have the alternatives, Huohuo is ahead by quite a few leaps and bounds of a character like Topaz and Numby, at least in the current game state. That is where I want to talk about future value, because this is then taking away of what is this item currently worth. Maybe you're buying this stonks and you want it to like pop off next time, and you're hoping that in future it's going to be much better. We talked about a lot of Topaz and Numby in other videos, but I'll summarize my thoughts on future value for her very, very simply. Basically, I think Topaz and Numby is a character that will look very attractive in reruns, because right now in the current game state, follow-up is like so-so, in my opinion at least, not very, very strong. We have new sets coming up that buff follow-up attacks. We might have new characters coming out in future that make use of follow-up attacks, or maybe the meta shifts where more monsters are maybe susceptible to follow-up attacks, and the more hits they get outside of the character turn on, maybe take more damage or something like that. If we see them more in play, I do see the upside for her being much higher. Hoyoverse generally would like to rotate the meta, shifting from hyper carry, crit into other elements, or maybe DOT, and eventually they have to come to follow attacks. It just helps them sell better if they have a very, very wide pool of characters that players needs, rather than like having Elation, who's like completely not really loved right now, or Fallout attackers that are not getting any love. Eventually I do think that every dog has its day, or in this case Numby, every Warp Trotter has its day as well. That is my sense. I think future value looks bright for Topaz and Numby in that sense, if more characters come about for her. But rerun might not be, might be the better choice than currently, if any of you are stressed not having enough Stellar Jades. Huohuo, on the other hand, I think is a bit trickier to answer. She has a lot of competition right now, but if you think about moving forward, if there's already like so many stacked camps right here in the abundance and preservation characters, so many already very, very strong meta characters, there are two gaps that I think is left to be filled. A limited 5-star character that has super shielding ability, maybe there is an anti-heal mechanic in future that's added into the game. I think that's one of the aspects that could push more towards shielding. And for example, abundance characters maybe that we don't have yet is someone that restores a lot of skill points. Very similar to maybe to like a character like Hanya, but maybe like instead of the energy and attack that Huohuo gives, like specifically feeds skill points. Which if you think about it, these two styles are quite different and doesn't have much competition for her. So in terms of power creeping, I would say it's not very, very high, but she is quite of a simple healer so far. A lot of healing, some cleansing here, typical of a healer, but adds in a little bit of harmony aspect. For the Tingyun and Natasha combo. So that kind of spread out hybrid build does make her a little bit harder to power creep completely. At least she will find a use somehow in most teams. I think it's still a very, very strong combination. Harmony and abundance, super strong. So that is my opinions for future value of these two characters so far. And I think what's more important looking into these two characters is definitely looking at their free-to-play kits. This is important because you want to know what you get at Plane Zero, like S0 without the signature light cone. Not everyone Investment, of course, is are you spending just to get the E1? Are you spending E6, S0, S1 and stuff like that? What do I mean by better investment usually is at the base value. You just want to get one copy of these two characters and nothing more. So far from what we've seen, Topaz and Numby has proven to be the difference between don't have signature light cone and signature light cone is quite large, which makes her not as free-to-play friendly as other characters that can work very simply with cruising in the Stellar Sea or without like the Battle Pass Hunt light cone as well. So I would say her probably a bit of a letdown. I thought she was going to be much more efficient as a free-to-play kit, but as analysed, the gap is quite large because her signature light cone is very, very niche and suitable for her too. But other than that, if you're just playing her as a sub-DPS support, I think works pretty well. I would say that a free-to-play kit is very, very good too if you are not counting on her to carry your entire roster, like a character, for example, like Jingliu, Imbibitor Lune, Zealer to some extent nowadays. That is my thoughts on her. For Huohuo, on the other hand, free-to-play kit, a healer doesn't really need to do anything else outside of just sustaining. Sustain is good enough because that's doing her job. And on top of that, if she can solo sustain, is fantastic. And from the looks of it, what we see in the values so far on the live stream, she can do quite a bit of sustain throughout the entire team. I think I like that so far. So very free-to-play friendly. On top of that, energy restoration, attack buffing doesn't really care too much about her Eidolon copies, which means that she works very well at E0. And in my opinion, free-to-play kit does slightly favor a character like Huohuo between the two of them, especially being a more sustained character. Being free-to-play friendly is very, very... And for my personal bias between the both of them, I think Huohuo significantly outperforms. I like this character's overall kit way more than a character like Topaz and Numby. The biggest if that I have, of course, is in the alternatives category. How many sustained units do you have? Do you have Luota, Fushen? For me, I have both of them, and this character doesn't look too enticing to me because I think I can probably get by. Right now, I don't need that much of an overheal. Until overheal becomes maybe converted to damage, or every time you heal a character becomes converted to damage, then I think this character will be more relevant. But for now, I think healing, excessive healing might not have too much value. I don't die anyway with these two characters. I don't really need too much healing in my roster. But anyways, if you like such content, appreciate such unbiased content, we will do a lot more of this, and the next one we want to do is with Argenty. Stay tuned to the channel if you're interested. Anyways, like and subscribe, notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.